How many of you are impressed that they're even willing to try stand-up?
Me.
Well, we've gotten together the last 4 Mondays, and they've written their routine in these last 4 weeks. All right, they came in with like a few vague ideas about what might be funny, and we've crafted it in script and kind of, well, they've crafted it. I've just told them that's not funny once in a while. And they've crafted a stand-up routine, all right? And it's something you guys can do too. So if you like this, if you think this would be interesting, you can look into it. So, for our first comedian, and now proof that some pharmacists do more than count by 5. Mel O!
So my name is Melissa, but I shortened it to Mel when I was younger because I had a really long last name, which was Orzechowski. And then I married a guy whose last name was, just my luck, Odorzinski. Or as I pronounce it, oh, I got screwed again-ski. But fast forward 12 years, we have 2 beautiful children. We have a 3-year-old daughter and a son who's a year and a half. Or for all you parents out there, he's 19 months. Because every month is so important, we've got to count by months until they're like 4. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, if we were adults and we did that, we'd be like, how old am I? Oh, I'm 416 months. But I'm just glad I'm past 415, because that was a real stain. And then you'd have those girlfriends that'd be like, oh girl, you look so fabulous. You don't look a day over 250 months. But I just want to know, like, what does it mean? I don't know the ages and the months, so I'll just tell you about my son. He still poops himself 5 times a day. He wobbles around like he's drunk. And every time he sees a boob, he starts to drool. So he's either 19 months or he's 80 years old. There's a real symmetry between infancy and old age. The only difference is we don't walk around saying, oh, doesn't Grandpa look cute with his diaper butt? But I try to do lots of fun, interactive things with my kids. Like watch TV. And my daughter's favorite show is the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. And I don't know if you're familiar with this. See some nods out there. But it's a cartoon about Mickey and his friends. And every episode is the same. They go on an adventure and they come across certain problems along the way. But luckily, at the beginning of the show, they are presented with a set of mouse-tools to help them on their way. And usually they're very nice, helpful things like a ladder or roller skates. And then when they get to any sort of problem in the show, it's do-do-do-do. And they're, it's, will an oar help Mickey row his boat across the river? Okay, that makes sense. But all I can think about when I'm watching this is, what if instead of Mickey, it was Mommy's Clubhouse? What would the set of mommy tools look like to help me get through my day? Things like a good night's sleep. A husband who actually listens. Boxed wine. And then when they get to that part of the episode, where I have a problem, it would really make sense. Will the bottle of Percocet help Mommy get over her So I try not to watch too much TV with the kids. We try to read books, and I love kids' books because I always know what's happening, and what comes next. So my daughter has a lot of counting books, and so it's like, what do you have when you have 3 burritos plus another 3 burritos? And I'm like, well, duh, you have Daddy's turn to change your diaper. And my husband, speaking of Daddy, and I'm picking on him a little bit, he can't ever read a book to my daughter without inserting his own commentary. It's usually political. So there's this story about the little blue truck, and it's this nice, friendly little blue truck that has all these friends, and he drives around leisurely, and beep beep, and waves to the horse, and waves to the cow. And my husband's like, well, honey, there's a reason it's blue. It's because it's a Democrat. It has all the time in the world to make friends and give handouts. And then there's this really mean, big dump truck that comes roaring through and it doesn't have time to wave to the friends or anything. And he's like, well, honey, that's because it's a Republican. He's probably just in a rush because he's on his way to work. And he's probably in a bad mood because he has to pay 37% in taxes. When he can be bipartisan, he does a really great, the corporate fat cat in the hat. But usually it's back to, the things that really push my buttons, like his rendition of Llama Llama, Why'd We Re-elect Obama? But there are times, occasionally, when his humor is appreciated by me. We both were raised Catholic, and we used to go to a very traditional Catholic church. And we'd always go to the last Mass of the Sunday, which was known as the Smells and Bells Mass. And no, not because of the whiskey breath and ringing in our ears from the night before, but because it was really heavy on the incense and the music. And in fact, they would sing the entire Mass. So you'd get out of there after an hour and a half, and you just had it stuck in your head. So we would play this little game where the entire rest of the day, we would only communicate by singing. So we'd start out, with very routine things like, what would you like for lunch? Frozen pizza or mac and cheese? But then we'd have to keep it up. So then if we were getting chippy with each other, we'd be like, if I have to ask you to take out the trash one more time, I'm going to dump it on your head. But we'd always make up. So at the end of the night, he'd kind of lean over to me in bed and just say, was that good for you? But we don't go to that church anymore. We moved to Minnesota a couple years ago. We're both from the Midwest, so it's very familiar to us. But there are a couple things that I find a little bit odd and sort of funny, including the local TV station's weather reports. So I'm from Chicago, where they report the temperature and then the wind chill. And here I've noticed they have a thing on some channels called the feels like temp. And I'm just wondering, how do they get that number? Is there a guy out back that they're like, hey Bob, what's it feel like? How about now? And it's always so precise. I'm thinking, if you feel 37 below, aren't you numb? But the best part of this is the local weather watchers. So these are average, everyday people like you and me from around the state that just want to be on TV. So they'll stand outside their house and report what the weather feels like wherever they are. And so their teeth are chattering and they cut to, Kathy in Faribault. Hey Kathy, what's it feel like today? And she's out there like, oh, it's so cold, my tater tot hot dish is frozen solid. We need a number, Kathy. So I just want it simplified again. Give me something like this. It's painfully cold. At least I'm not in pain anymore because I can't feel my face cold. And grab your mommy tools, we're moving to Florida. Thanks, everybody.